Alright, what's going on guys? This is Rich T. Today is March 18th. I'm a day late from the patch notes and such, but today's video is going to be going through just some of the patch notes on Chun-Li and a few other added things that they've got with the game itself. So some of this video could be a little bit of a little ramble, but some of it could be like talking to you about all the patches that Chun-Li's got, whether it's either a buff or a nerf. We have to wait and see, and obviously for me to obviously go through it one by one. So let's get into the video and take it from the top. Okay, so first things first, the elephant in the room. Alex has now been added into the Street Fighter 6 roster as one of the characters. Now, I'm not gonna have a little ramble about it. I'll probably make a video about it later on about Alex and the way how Street Fighter 6 or Capcom have put him in as a character with the lore now. I'll get into that later on, but some of it is very weird, I'll tell you that. Special mention to my friend Moxie. She's the one that told me about it. A good friend of mine in the Blanco server. So if you want to join Blanco server, I'll put a link in the description below so you can join. But that's not really the point. What else have we got? We've got more collabs, and which is cool. Yeah, cool enough. But what are the items? Oh, it's avatar content. Like, why can they not just do like Ryu's avatar Mega Man outfit? It just makes no sense. But it doesn't really matter. What else have we got? The Jam product X Street Fighter 6. What's this one? Oh, it's also more avatar content, the usual. And now we've got the maintenance being completed. We've got obviously the patches on all characters. I'll only go through obviously Chun-Li because obviously I play Chun-Li, so that's just going to be mainly the entire video of today. So let's get into Chun-Li's patch notes. Okay, so here we are in the train lounge with Ken here, and for today's video is also going to be mainly talking about Chun-Li's patches and changes that she's got added in. If you do want to see anything that is related to your character, whether it's your Mai, your JPs, your Kumas, I'll put a link in the description below so you can see the Alex patch notes. Basically means all characters from this patch, when Alex has been released, all characters have been changed or somewhat. So you can all check in the description below from that. But today's video is just mainly Chun-Li. So, one thing, or a few things that Capcom said in their patch notes is they were only wanting to make Chun-Li's Serenity Stream a little bit more better to use in certain situations. For example, Chun-Li's Serenity Stream Medium Punch, or Snake Strike for example, has now went from a 7-frame startup to a 6-frame startup, if I can show you here. That's her leg, sorry. As you can see, it's now went from 7-frame startup to a 6-frame startup. Next up, we've also got her attack data. This here, the red shows, is the attack data that is given to Chun after the attack has been confirmed. It went from 11 frame to a 12 frame, which is like ironic because obviously 6 and 12 obviously, but that's fair enough. Then the third one I'm a little bit confused on because I'm not too much on certain attack hits and such. It says they reduce the horizontal blowback when attack hits, which is increased the blowback time. So I'm not very good at like certain aspects on certain things, although all I know is just some of the data on like frame data and such. So if you want to help me out on that one, third choice, please let me know in the comments. That's pretty much it. Anyway, so the next thing they've also changed is now, which is a buff in my opinion, or it is obviously a buff, is Chun-Li's light stance kick is now increased the hitbox. So now it's now a further range where I can hit someone from, like, say, here for example. If I can actually do it. Which is a lot more longer than obviously previously. Previously you will be here, but now you can go from a little bit like, say, here. And do a light combo into that, which is really good. So you can go like something like, which is something that is pretty interesting to see in the situation when you're trying to go for like something optimized combo, or you want to try and show off like your moves like I can do this, or anything like that. I couldn't do input lightning kicks after that because I've not been practicing a bit. But yeah, you get the idea. So cool change. I like it. It would help out some situations when you're trying to learn. So props to that. So thank you Capcom for adding a little buff to Chun-Li for this phase. Or patch, sorry. So we'll get into the next one. Next one they also changed a bit was Chun-Li's OD lightning kicks has now got a combo scaling that is no longer applied when following up an overdrive 100 lightning kicks. So now I think it does a bit more damage or no scale into it. So I think you go like, let's see. No, I forgot you can't do that. 3,600. I don't know if you could do that beforehand or not. I wouldn't even see the difference between that. So I wouldn't even understand that one completely. But I mean, there's like no scaling. It's no longer applied when following up an overdrive 100 lightning kicks. So who knows? Maybe obviously people might see the difference slightly or not. I probably won't see it fully, but maybe someone will let me know in the comments for that. So please do. Anyway, moving on to Chun-Li's elephant in the room. So the elephant in the room for Chun-Li's adjustment is this move. Light Asanchu has now had a massive change on certain situations. For example, the damage has been reduced to 300. Before it was 100 or 1k damage, but now it's 700 shown here, which is kind of silly. And if you see what Ken has done there in the situation, it's now a force knockdown, which is a kind of cool feature. And it also will apply to, obviously, you can't not go for a super, because I've seen Chun-Li's will do this, they'll go into level 3, but now you can't do that now, as shown here. Which is kind of silly. Unless I want to see if it works in the corner, though. No, not even in the corner. The corner itself, you cannot do a super with Light Asanchu anymore, which is kind of silly. What about if you try medium? Medium works, and heavy works. Only Light Asanchu is the only one you cannot do a super with anymore, which is kind of stupid, but I can see what Capcom were trying to do in the situation. Now, going with the other changes, let me just quickly change it. Okay, so next thing they also did as well, this move is no longer projectile invincible. So now if I go over, if I do back into it, obviously, sadly enough, I won't be able to obviously deal with the assault. I won't deal with projectiles. I have to mainly use medium and heavy now for this situation. However, when hitting an endball opponent, effects has now changed from obviously, as I said, it's now gone from instead of a normal hit confirmed to a forced knockdown, which is kind of cool feature. Yeah, hello guys, Editing Rich D here. I forgot to mention the number 7 and number 8, where, well, mainly number 7 is obviously it increases pushback on block, which is a good feature. So if you're like the distance shown on where Chun-Li is standing in the freeze frame, and you do a Sanchu, you can end up being pushed back to a certain range where I think you can end up not within with Punisher, someone doing a medium kick or something, like Bison's scissor kick, medium scissor kick, where it's -5 on block, but the pushback is so far that you can punish with a heavy punch, which is pretty good feature in my opinion. But other than that, I'll let you carry on watching the rest of the video. And it also works with someone who's in the air as well. So you have to, if you try and hit someone with an airborne, and you do that, you can end up obviously hitting them with a forced knockdown. So you can go for a frame kill, which is a pretty cool feature. The buff that also Chun has got with this move is it's now, instead of being a -9 on block, it's now a -5. So as I show here, it's now obviously, oh, didn't mean to add that. Wait a second. It's now -5. But beforehand it was -9. So people could obviously would be punishing it with obviously like 7 frame moves or whatever, which is kind of silly because it's a light. But being a -5,
遊んでる暇は
it's
ないん
now a
だ。
good feature where you can go like that, and also they have to use a 5-frame combo into it, so it'd probably be medium punch, but most people would normally still go for something like a +7 startup. The recovery change has now gone from 21 to 20, as shown in the blue here. This was 21 frames beforehand, but it's now moved to 20 frames, so good recovery from that. To obviously, if I'm going for like something and my opponent's crouching, I can do that to force them down, and I can do something like, let me try and find something. I can do something like this. Frame kill, and I'm +40, and I can do my combo from that. So cool little feature, I quite like that, but some people might think it's not a cool idea on nerfing something like where normally a Sanchu can go over the projectiles or has an invincibility to go over projectiles, but obviously
遊んでる暇は
Capcom
ないんだ。
normally likes to always keeps on changing Chun's moves or does obviously some weird things with it, but that's kind of the silly thing about it. Now, the other Sanchu change they also did is this. They've also, due to the chip damage from the opponents during the burnt out being lower
何を待
than
ってる？
obviously the specific value of a quarter of an actual damage, they've increased the damage from 250 to 300, so which is a good feature with a heavy. If I show this, forgive me. So, yeah. As you can see from obviously me messing up my combos in a split second, you could see that the Hasanju on Burnout is now 300 shown here. So I lose my mouse cruiser. Here. It was beforehand 250, but now it's now 300, so it's a nice little feature that obviously Capcom have decided to add in, or a little buff. So it's a nice little feature, which I do like.
遊んでる暇
But
は
that's
ないん
pretty
だ。
much most of Chun-Li's changes that she's got added in. Now, some of it is kind of like silly, but some of it is like a good thing and bad at the same time. So it all comes down to like whether you're going to use light Sanju for a situation like if you have a muscle memory where you think it do that, or you're going to do something else, and you realize obviously you can now, if I actually end up input it right, there you go, and you use that more, and the hitbox is now further with the light kick as well, the stance. I'm not very good at explaining stuff, so obviously if you think it's a bit off, obviously I'm not explaining anything too detailed or well enough, please forgive me on that, or you can try and find someone
何
that
を
will
待って
explain
る？
something more perfectly. I'm just going through obviously what I see in my opinion, and I'll explain that here. So, when it comes to the conclusion, has Chun-Li got buffed or did she get nerfed in this situation? I say she's kind of in the situation where some of her moves have been micro nerfed, and some of her moves that are like mainly towards the pro players who normally use stance are like a micro buffed. But in my opinion, I think Chun-Li got somewhat buffed and somewhat nerfed at the same time, which is like kind of like the thing what Chun-Li always gets in the situation. So it's kind of silly on how obviously Capcom keeps on obviously doing like, oh, they will buff obviously any other characters, they'll buff a jury, they'll buff Mai. I'll talk about that obviously quickly later. Mai obviously did not get any changes, only a slap on the wrist if you get that idea on what that means. But Chun-Li, my opinion, I say buffed and nerfed at the same time towards something else. So it's a nice feature that we got some buffs, but quite silly on some things decided to get nerfed at the same time with the buffs. So that wraps up with today's video. I appreciate you all for sticking around. As I said, links in the description below on the patch note if you want to take a look at that. If you want to join Blanco's server, his server will be in the description below as well. And that basically is. If you have any thoughts or anything you like to add, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Other than that, I wish you all the best, and I will see you all later. Peace.